What's happening, everybody? Hopefully, it was a successful weekend for most. Unfortunately, likely not all, but hopefully most were able to advance to the fantasy semifinals after the quarters took place this past week. Wrapped up last night with a Monday night doubleheader. Obviously, we're now in week 16. This is just nature of the beast. The pool of folks who are still playing at this time of year is smaller. Obviously, everybody's playing weeks 1 to 14, but then that in most leagues gets cut in half or 60% or so of the league after week 14, and then of course that gets cut in half yet again after week 15. So, at this point, obviously the herd is thinning out. We've only probably got a smattering of folks who are still playing. So I can only imagine as your seasons are wrapping up, the content that you consume at this point of the year is going to wrap up as well if your season is done. But hopefully we've got some folks who are still alive and still playing for a championship and getting ready for their week 16 matchups. So if you're in the fantasy semifinals, congratulations. Well done. Absolutely feel free to brag about what happened this week in your specific situation. If you had a player go off for you, or if you just had a good balanced group effort, now is your opportunity to talk about that a little bit. And of course, you can highlight your upcoming matchup as well and what you may potentially be looking to do this week as far as who to start and who to pick up. So I'll go over some options. The waiver wire stream, I did label this a waiver wire stream, and obviously the waiver wire remains relevant every week due to injuries and poor performances and what have you. So guys who are not on rosters are always going to get a spark one way or another for at least 1 week. So we'll go over some waiver wire options, guys that are widely available, generally speaking, in the majority of leagues. Although I understand at this point, the waiver wire may not matter much to you. Maybe you're coming off a bye week and your squad is healthy and there's nobody for you to really worry about as far as picking up. Maybe the options on the wire are just too thin and these guys don't potentially crack the starting lineup, and they're nothing more than a bench stash. So we do want to be judicious with our transactions and pickups at this point of the season, especially if you are out of FOB or if you're close to the end of your FOB budget. But with only 2 weeks to go, when something presents itself in the form of an interesting waiver wire pickup, you might as well capitalize because next week is no guarantee at this point. Well, it wasn't last week either, but it definitively isn't now, depending on there may be some leagues that only have like a 4-team playoff, or there may still be some leagues that don't start their playoffs until this week and go until week 18. I hope that's not the case. You should never have playoffs run through week 18. Too much randomness, too much uncertainty that happens in week 18 that make it worth to play fantasy at that point. Regardless, we're in the knockout rounds, no matter how you slice it, whatever league that you're in or whatever tournament that you are in. So I'll go over waiver wire options, and then, of course, we'll take your questions if there are any. Again, I'm not sure how many folks are going to pop in today. The number of players still playing just thins out. That's the nature of the beast. But hopefully we've got some folks who have been following along throughout the season and were able to advance to week 16. It looks so I see MVM, I see Crumply Heads. What's going on, guys? Sorry you didn't win, MVM. If you're in here or able to pop in for a bit. Josh Allen has been going absolutely ballistic this year. He's not somebody that you want to have to go up against any week, and he's going absolutely crazy. So, what are you going to do? And then, of course, Devontae Adams has his best game in so long. I don't even remember the last time he put up you know, a number that big, Adams, but like somewhere around 35, 38 half PPR points went absolutely nuclear. What are you going to do? If you went against Lamar Jackson, what are you going to do, right? Like, this is just, great players have great games. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown, what are you going to do? James Cook was looking like a guy that a lot of people put on the bench. He went nuts. He went off. That it's a fickle game that we play. It is a difficult game that we play. It's a challenging game that we play. Sometimes it'll make you feel like you're on top of the world. Sometimes it'll rip your heart out. That's just again, I keep saying nature of the beast. I feel like it's like the fourth time I've said it already in about 6 minutes, but it's true. Once we set our lineups, that's it. It's in the hands of the players at that point, and we have no control over what's going to happen. Multiple injuries, of course, that we're also looking at as well. So again, the waiver wire could be in play for certain folks, depending on your situation. Maybe you lost David Montgomery, brutal loss. Not just, first and foremost for the Lions, obviously Super Bowl contenders, Super Bowl hopefuls. They just lost David Montgomery, presumably for the next few weeks minimum. They haven't placed him on injured reserve. They're holding out hope that he could maybe make a late return. It seems unlikely. His regular season is over. So redraft leagues, David Montgomery can be dropped if you were in fact able to advance. Maybe in spite of Montgomery, he didn't have a very good game. He went down early, obviously with the MCL injury. I believe it was considered a sprain, which, if I understand it correctly, a sprain also means a tear when it comes to the MCL. Or is it PCL? No, it's the PCL. If it was the MCL, he would be out. The PCL is why he has a chance to come back. That's what it is. But it's probably unlikely regardless. So the waiver wire may come in handy for you there. So we'll get into that. My last thing off the top, just to make everybody aware, this is probably going to be a frequent thing. I don't know what other channels or what other content creators for fantasy do at this time of the year, but the fact that week 17 now, like championship week, regularly happens during the holidays, during Christmas, like the week of Christmas, people are going to be traveling and busy and all of that stuff. So I wanted to just take this time now to let everybody know this week will be the final slate of live streams that I will be running for the rest of the 2024 season. I'm traveling for Christmas, for the Christmas holiday. I will not be like readily available like I have been able to for most of the season. I will post in Discord, and I will also put a community post up on the YouTube channel. So you have a one-stop shop to ask questions, and I will get to them as I am able to. This is for people who, of course, win this week and advance to week 17. Not that we're getting too far ahead of ourselves, but somebody's got to win the week 16 matchup, so it might as well be you guys. After this week, I have my obviously today, I have my Thursday stream and I have my Saturday start-sit streams this week. This will be the final week for those. So I will make myself available where I can, and I will try to make it easy for you guys to have easy access to me. Obviously, all you have to do is leave your question in the form of a comment on any YouTube video, or if I put up a community post. And of course, you can get me in Discord. If you're not in my Discord, second link in the description of this live stream and all the videos on the channel and streams on the channel. You can get into the Discord, and I can make myself available there. But this will be the final week for live streams, for Facemask Fantasy for the year. You have me for my normal slate today, obviously, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. But then that will be it because of the holiday schedule. So I'll repeat this a few times over the course of the week. I will let everybody know. I'm sure I'll have a few more folks popping in closer to when the games are actually being played and closer to Saturday and Sunday. But just as an FYI, I will continue to share that update over the course of the week so that everybody's in tune and is aware. This will be the final week of the 2024 season for live streams. And then, I'll catch you guys at some point in the off season for Dynasty content because That's next up, and the season never ends. Maybe for some folks who are actually sane and like to have a break from football and don't play Dynasty. But for us crazies who like to play Dynasty, the season never ends. So I will be around at some point after the playoffs and after the dust settles on the beginning of the offseason. The Dynasty content will continue on the channel as it has in previous seasons. But there will probably be a bit of a hiatus from me after this week. So, I'll share this sentiment over the course of the week, but hopefully it's been a fun year. Hopefully it's been a good year for you guys. Hopefully I was able to steer you in the right direction more often than not. Apologies if I didn't. But hopefully what I put out was informative. The details and information that I gave you was helpful. The videos that I put out were helpful. That's all I'm trying to accomplish here, is try to help some folks out when it comes to winning in fantasy football. That's the plan. That's always the game plan. So hopefully it's been a good year. Hopefully it's been a fun year in that regard. And at some point over the course of whether it's the off season, around the NFL draft and scouting the rookies, or if we're just waiting until week 1 of next year for the redraft folks, I'm sure I'll see everybody in 2025 at some point. But just wanted to throw that out there for this week. So you got me for this week. So hopefully can help sort out anybody who is in week 16 advance to championship week. Some waiver wire options moving forward, depending on who is available in your league. Let's see. I believe the top waiver wire option is Jerome Ford. Was Nick Chubb? I know that did he pick up another injury? Yeah. Oh, right. He broke his foot. That's right. Yep. I was like, I'm pretty sure he got hurt. Oh, that's kind of a big one. Yeah, he broke his foot. Nick Chubb did. Rough. Tough break for Nick Chubb. Obviously, it was awesome to see him come back after that brutal knee injury that he suffered last year, only to come back a few weeks later and this year anyway, and suffer another injury. So not only is he done for the season, Jerome Ford will be the dude you figure for the rest of the year. So if you have David Montgomery, maybe you have plotting, difficult to trust options as your RB2. Najee Harris against Baltimore comes to mind. DeAndre Swift comes to mind. Any Raiders running back. If these were guys that you maybe had on your roster and you were unsure of moving forward, Jerome Ford is a plug and play. While we have to temper expectations because we're not expecting much from the Browns offense, they did in fact also make the switch. They're benching Jameis Winston for Dorian Thompson-Robinson, presumably for the rest of the season. They'll give the young guy a look and see what, if anything, might be there for them going into the future. But after throwing 3 more interceptions, was it 3 or 4 by Jameis? It was another reminder that while Jameis is a lot of fun, we love Jameis Winston as a player and as a character, but a franchise quarterback, he is not. Fun backup to have on probably like a contender. But even then, if you were a contender right now, you probably wouldn't be feeling too confident about your opportunities with Jameis Winston or your chances at quarterback with Jameis Winston. So the team goes to DTR. They see what the former 7th-round rookie or the former 7th-round pick has over these next couple of games. So the offense will be difficult to trust, but Jerome Ford is going to get a lot of opportunities from here on out because Nick Chubb is done for the season. Good matchup this week against Cincinnati. Tougher matchup championship week against Miami. We'll deal with that if we have to. We'll cross that bridge about week 17 when we get to that point. For now, though, week 16, Jerome Ford is a plug and play. Upside flex option given the matchup and the volume. If you have any FOB left, if you have any high priority waiver claim to make, this is it. Jerome Ford is like the last big pull in all likelihood of the season, of the fantasy season. Maybe it's a thinner group of players that are paying attention, whether it's eliminated teams or maybe you lock players teams at the bottom of the standings that don't make the playoffs, and so they can't make waiver wire pickups, whatever have you. Maybe you have folks who lost last week in the playoffs and they're done. They're not paying attention anymore. A fifth place game is meaningless for them. So you may have fewer folks to contend with to get Jerome Ford or any waiver wire pickup, really. But Ford is the big pickup this week, especially if David Montgomery, if you have Nick Chubb, if you lost either one of those two guys, or if you had a Raiders running back, or maybe DeAndre Swift, who's been banged up and underperforming, Jerome Ford, worth whatever you have left in the form of FOB or waiver wire priority. Jalen McMillan at wide receiver would be the guy. He's emerging. He seems to be taking advantage of an opportunity, and Chris Godwin's not coming back. So McMillan figures to continue to get opportunities with a prominent role, with a good Bucs offense attached to Baker Mayfield, who's playing great football. And they get Carolina this week, I believe, or no, that's week 17. They get the Cowboys this week. Great two matchups to end the fantasy season for Tampa Bay, Dallas and Carolina. You could fire up Jalen McMillan for sure as in deeper leagues as a wide receiver 3. If you're hurting at the position, or if you're dealing with some either injuries or poor performances. So Jalen McMillan absolutely on the radar, not ahead of Jerome Ford, but McMillan would probably be the top receiver that I would look to grab, unless maybe say if Romeo Doubs is available. If Romeo Doubs was dropped, he missed a couple of weeks with the concussion. Now he's back. Doubs, looks like Doubs looks like loves maybe week to week favorite player to throw the football to. Home against the Saints, on the road against the Vikings, very beatable secondary in Minnesota. Doubs is shaping up as strong receiver depth to end the season. He is more rostered. He is rostered in more leagues than a guy like Jalen McMillan, so he may not be available for you. But if he is, I would put Doubs ahead of McMillan. But McMillan is widely available, so in all likelihood, he's available in your league if you need him. But Doubs would be wide receiver 1 if he is available. He's rostered a little bit more highly than McMillan, though, so he may not be available. Let's see. Tajay Spears, another option at running back if he's available. It hasn't come together for Tajay Spears this year. He was one of my value or zero running back targets that I really liked this year. That did not work out. Apologies if you listened to that advice. I'll admit that was one thing I did not get right. I thought Tajay Spears would outperform Tony Pollard this year. I was saying that at the beginning of the season. That was wrong. That was one of the L's that I took this year. However, he had an incredible game this past week, Spears did. Could see some better quarterback play from Mason Rudolph now that Will Levis is being benched. Good matchups against Indianapolis and Jacksonville. So, maybe we'll see more Spears. Tony Pollard has racked up a lot of touches, and this is a Titans team that is going nowhere fast. So maybe they mix Spears in a little bit more at the end of the year. Give the young guy some looks, some opportunities. He's going to be difficult to trust, though, to start outside of like the deepest of leagues. Similar wavelength or similar thought process here, but maybe not as optimistic a viewpoint. I guess it could happen, but Kendre Miller also on the wire or the radar for the waiver wire this week. It's a bad Saints team that's playing out the string, and Alvin Kamara is now dealing with a groin injury. They're not going to make the playoffs. New Orleans, they're not. This is a team that is looking to 2025. And it's possible that Kamara maybe gets scaled back a little bit in these final couple of weeks here. And even if not, he's, at this point, an older running back dealing with an injury. So, it makes, whether it actually happens or not is one thing, but it makes sense when teams who are out of the playoff race, who have young, intriguing, unproven guys to give an opportunity to, you would think that they have a lot of motivation and incentive to get those guys opportunities and see what they have going into their future. Get some type of inkling. So Kendre Miller is also in that camp. And I would bump him up ahead of Tajay Spears if Kamara ultimately is not able to play. Like if Kamara gets ruled out or shut down, then Kendre Miller goes ahead of Tajay Spears, assuming Tony Pollard isn't shut down. But Jerome Ford ahead of both because Nick Chubb is gone. So Jerome Ford, Tajay Spears, Kendre Miller at running back, Romeo Doubs, Jalen McMillan at wide receiver. There's a lot of decent options at tight end. If you are looking for a tight end option, maybe you have Jake Ferguson, who his season, for all intents and purposes, is done from a production perspective. We just can't trust this Cowboys offense to support anybody other than maybe CeeDee Lamb. It just hasn't come to fruition for Ferguson this year, and especially recently. If you have Cade Otton, who has completely bottomed out since Mike Evans returned, these are guys that you can comfortably move on from. Brenton Strange had 11 catches last week. I don't know if we can necessarily trust that to replicate, but Evan Ingram is gone, and so are the other wide receivers not named Brian Thomas. Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, both gone. You know, this is a Jags offense that is limping to the finish line. They'll go the rest of the way with Mac Jones. Brenton Strange has a wide open opportunity and a great matchup this week against Las Vegas if you're in desperate need of a tight end. I mean, I can't imagine he sees he's probably going to see 6 or 7 targets a game the rest of the way, right? He's all 12 this past week. I don't know if he sees 12 in week 16 and 17, but you got to figure he's in good shape to see 7 or 8. And we'll take that from a bottom of the barrel desperation play at tight end. We'll take that. Stone Smart also, he was a trendy guy last week after Will Dissly was put on injured reserve. I think he had a decent day, right? I think he had a couple of catches for maybe like 50 yards. I'm looking it up right now. Stone Smart. Yeah, if you're hurting at tight end, maybe you're losing faith in somebody like a TJ Hawkinson, who I don't think had a bad game last night, but it wasn't like a slate buster, so to speak. 5 catches for 50 yards. Good job, Stone Smart. Oh, he lost a fumble. Well, that's not great. But 5 for 50 is you'll take that production from a tight end any given week. You don't want him to lose the football, but if I picked a random tight end for you and told you that he was going to get 8 points for you this week, take it or leave it, I'm pretty sure most people would take it. Stone Smart figures to get anywhere from 6 to 7 points as long as he's the starting tight end and catching the football from Justin Herbert. Tougher matchup this week against Denver, but it is a home game for the Chargers, so has a chance to come through with some volume. He's got a great matchup week 17 against New England, but we got to get there first. So Brenton Strange, Stone Smart, Chig Okonkwo, viable option now that the Titans are moving forward with Mason Rudolph. Will Levis is a turnover machine, and I don't know if they're closing the book on him, the Titans, but they clearly feel like he needs to sit down and maybe take a step back and observe for these last couple of games, which probably hopefully doesn't too much to whatever development he has going on, but Levis doesn't look the part right now. They'll go to Mason Rudolph to end the season. That puts Chig Okonkwo on the tight end streaming radar. 2 great matchups. Again, I talked about it with Tajay Spears. He's playing the Colts and he's playing the Jaguars. 2 very beatable matchups for really anybody. But Chig should be in a good spot to be able to put up some streaming viable production if you're hurting at tight end. So some decent tight end flyers if you are ready to say goodbye to the likes of Jake Ferguson, Cade Otton. Zach Ertz. I think Zach Ertz picked up a concussion, so he missed, although it is a revenge game for him coming up if he's able to get ready. He's in the concussion protocol, so he's probably not going to be able to play. So maybe you had Zach Ertz, maybe you have Kyle Pitts, who is impossible to trust. Cole Kmet. Yeah. I mean, if I had any one of those names that I just mentioned, Brenton Strange, Stone Smart, Chig Okonkwo, pick any one. Viable streams. Smart, a little difficult to try. I would probably put Smart third because of the matchup against Denver, but Chig against Indianapolis or Strange against Las Vegas, I'm fine with either one of those if you need a tight end. If you're looking at a tight end stream on the wire. All right, I think that briefly covers Week 16 waivers. Again, these are probably guys that you're not. If you've made it this far, you may not be considering any one of these guys. But if you're streaming tight ends, then any one of those dudes are viable. I'd probably rank Strange first, and then Strange first, then Chig, and then Stone Smart because of the matchup against Denver. Although he does have the best quarterback of these three throwing him the football. But with a healthy Ladd McConkey back, that doesn't mean as much to me. So I would put Strange probably first this week against the Raiders as far as tight end streams. Okay, I can now get into questions. I will get to, as always, if you have been here before, welcome back. If you are here for the first time, welcome in. I will get to member questions first as I see them. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. If anybody is feeling generous enough to send a super, you do not have to, but that'll also be a line jumper to get your question answered faster. And then I will get to everybody else. Whether you are a member or not, I only ask that you consider liking the stream. That helps me out for algorithm purposes, and appreciate everybody's patience as I work through the questions. I actually don't see any member questions yet. But I did see MVM and Crumply Heads. What's going on, guys? So we can go right in from the top. So this is a start sit question. Okay. So as always, this is another caveat. My start sit answers, my answers to your start sit questions on Tuesday are subject to change. They are not necessarily going to be the same answer that I give you on Thursday, or ideally, if you're able to come back Saturday or Sunday morning. Well, Sunday morning will be for the members, but Saturday, if you're able to come back, that is when I can give you the best answer when we have the most information available to us as far as confirmed injuries and practice updates and all that good stuff. So obviously, if this is redraft, David Montgomery can be dropped. Stevenson gets fired in by default. Okay, so there you go. I mean, at this point, I don't. Who are the Dolphins playing? I'm looking it up. Don't you worry. I got this. San Francisco? I mean, like, of course, Tyreek went nuclear weeks 13 and 14 and then proceeded to throw up a colossal dud in week 15. My answer right now is probably to sit Tyreek. I mean, Terry McLaurin just went nuts. Mike Evans just went nuts. Ladd McConkey just came back and had a really, really strong game. We can revisit this later in the week, and we'll see what injury status is and practice reports look like. But I mean, after the weeks that those last three guys had, I want to play Terry. I want to play Evans. I want to play Ladd. I have a hard time believing in Tyreek Hill right now, although at least it's a home game for him. Let's come back to this one later in the week when we have more information as far as injuries. At least they're all good options to have. I guess Terry against the Eagles is a little volatile because the Eagles have been really stingy against outside wide receivers. I would definitely play Evans, and I would definitely play Ladd McConkey, especially in full PPR for Ladd. And Evans gets the Cowboys, so sign me up for that beautiful matchup. It's between Tyreek and Terry McLaurin. Terry's got a brutal matchup against the Eagles, so maybe that's ultimately my answer, but Tyreek disappointed in a big way this past week, so he's difficult to trust as well right now. It's between one of those two. I don't want to sit Terry, but if you feel like you want to get Tyreek in your lineup because he's Tyreek Hill, then Terry would probably be my answer. But I would say let's maybe come back to this one later in the week. And Crumply Heads, as far as Herbert on a short week, I think my feelings are well known at this point about short weeks. I try to avoid if I can, but if this is super flex and your next best option behind Herbert is, I don't know, Caleb Williams, or like Matthew Stafford, who I guess I feel a little better about because at least he's got 10 days off between games. But I mean, if you have Kirk Cousins, if you have Aaron Rodgers, you have CJ Stroud, I would probably play Herbert. Now, I think you also have Josh Allen in this league, so I'm probably not sweating a damn thing if I have Josh Allen in any league. Superflex, one quarterback, don't matter. But I would probably, play Herbert unless you also have, a good player in a good matchup. I think you're okay to continue to fire him up. I don't love it. I don't like the short week. Is it a home? It's a home game at least. It's a home. I think I said road game. It's a road game for the Broncos. It's a home game for the Chargers. So that's better. That's better. And the Chargers are battling for a playoff spot right now. The Broncos are as well. So this game has huge ramifications. I think Herbert will be okay. It's fair to be worried. I hate Thursday night football. I just, in a vacuum, I never trust that it's going to be the product that we expect on Sunday. But it's Justin Herbert in a must-win game. I'll take my chances with him, even though it's a Thursday night. Yeah. No, it's the stakes are higher. Stakes are higher, so we're sweating it out. I know how it is. I got you. But yeah, I mean, I would play Herbert. I would play Herbert. I mean, he's good. It's a must-win game. Ladd is back. They can't run the ball. The Chargers cannot run the ball, so they have to throw. Like Gus Edwards, Kamani Vidal, Hassan Haskins, whatever, that's not getting it done right now. That's not getting it done at all. They have to throw. They have to throw the ball. They have to air it out, the Chargers, if they want to do anything on offense. So, at the very least, he comes through as a floor play, and you'll take a floor play from a good quarterback any day of the week because he'll have volume. Honestly, Herbert might be their best option running the football right now. So maybe they cook up a designed run or two for him. Yeah. I would trust when your quarterback one is Josh Allen. I trust Justin Herbert as my QB2 for the most part. I'll say that. I'll say that. Yeah. Let's see. Let me know if you need anything else, Crumply Heads. Thoughts on ETN this week? He should be solid. He got 18 opportunities last week or this past week. Actually, he had 19 opportunities. He had 18 touches, excuse me. 18 touches, 85 yards. Gets a great matchup against the Raiders this week. I mean, he's on the RB3 radar. He's on the flex radar. Yeah. I mean, he's cleared let's see, 8. He just missed 60 scrimmage yards week 13. He had 58. But he had 70 scrimmage yards week 14 and he had 85 scrimmage yards week 15. Yeah, ETN is on the is absolutely flexible, or in some instances might be an RB2, depending on who else you may have. Maybe you lost David Montgomery. Yeah, ETN is back on the radar. He's back on the radar. He's absolutely flexible, and the matchup is amazing against Vegas. Yeah, I feel he still's not scoring touchdowns, ETN, but touchdowns are random. They could happen any given week, and he's getting the work. So, yeah, I mean, I would pencil him in for somewhere between 8 and 10 half PPR points. And if it's full PPR, then maybe optimistically hope to get 11 or 12 or 12 to 13. Start 3 in full PPR. I will repeat myself a couple times here on this one. My Tuesday answers to start sit questions are the most subject to change during the week. We just don't have injury updates yet. We don't have practice reports. What I am thinking today might not be what I'm thinking on Saturday. So I encourage you to come back on Saturday. If you can, 5 p.m. Eastern, or Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern as well, when we're at least got we have a couple rounds of practice reports and practice days to work with. Today is a difficult day to answer start sit questions because we just don't have that information right now. I will give you my thoughts, but I encourage you to come back. That goes for everybody. Terry, Ladd, Keenan, Jennings, Ridley. Terry McLaurin's on fire, so I'm playing Terry McLaurin. Ladd, McConkey, and PPR is a layup. I don't trust Keenan Allen and the Bears offense right now. I want to trust Ridley, and I think Mason Rudolph helps him, but it's not an easy situation to believe in. I will take Jennings. No weather concerns in Miami as far as I know. I don't think we're dealing with any rain issues. 10 days off for the 49ers. And Jennings is their only viable wide receiver at this point. So he should come through with some decent volume, catching the ball from Purdy. Again, as long as it's not raining, Purdy doesn't seem to like the rain. As long as it's nice Miami, Southern Florida weather, Jennings, in addition to Terry and Ladd. But that's subject to change. The status of Purdy and his shoulder injury, the weather in Miami this weekend, all that stuff is subject to, my answer is subject to change. All right. I have a couple more member questions to get to, so I will get to those, but I appreciate everybody's patience. I see my spot in line. I have the questions. I promise I will get to all of them, but I got to get to member questions first. Kamara or Smith? Is this Devontae Smith? I mean, we got to see. Kamara might not play. I mean, he picked up a groin injury, and the Saints are dead in the water. They're playing out the strain at this point. So it's possible that Kamara is, even if he does play, is limited. So we got to see what practice reports look like. We don't know how serious the injury is. We're very up in the air on as far as like what we know. So if Kamara plays, he's still that, he's still Alvin Kamara, and the floor that he brings to the table is usually too tantalizing to give up. We just got to see practice reports. But I'm inclined, if Kamara is 100% and this injury isn't bothering him and it was, a precaution this past week and he's actually okay, then Kamara. But if he's anything less than that, if he's hobbled, dealing with an injury, less than 100% going into this game, this meaningless game for New Orleans, then I would probably say Smith. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with, his injury status over the course of the week. But I'll play Kamara if he's in. I'll play Kamara if he's in. What's going on, E111? Good to see you. Traded Stevenson and a third for Evans and a second. So you got Evans and the better draft pick. I do remember talking about this last week. I really like that. I'm sorry that you didn't get the win. Chuba fell flat in a great matchup. Garendo didn't do enough. Dude, the Cardinal. I gotta not suggest the Cardinals again. They just stink. They're just the Cardinals just flat out like don't put your eggs in the basket of a lackluster, mediocre team, and that's my fault for considering them or thinking about them. Still, that's a lot of points to be scored. It's unfortunate that it wasn't enough. But you made a good trade and you got a good draft pick. You upgraded at draft pick, and I think for at least the short term, you might have upgraded at the player as well. Obviously, we got to wait until next year for Mike Evans, but I mean, he's still doing it. I would imagine we get another strong season, at least one more strong season out of Mike Evans. So all is not lost there. But unfortunately, I'm sorry you weren't able to. Sorry you weren't able to advance there. It's a fickle game that we play. But good trade. But you have teams still alive, so that's awesome. That's good to see. The Broncos, the Cardinals, or the Colts. I guess Denver on the short week. Who are the Cardinals playing? They're playing Carolina. I mean, they could. It's not the same Panthers, though. They're not the same. Like, they're not this. They only scored 14 points against a bad Cowboys defense last week. The problem is, like, I just don't trust the Cardinals. The Cardinals have the best matchup. And the Broncos are on a short week this week, and they're on the road. So maybe I don't like that as much. I like them as a unit, but I don't like them on the road on a short week. And I don't trust Indianapolis. Their defense is really bad. I don't want to go back to Arizona. But honestly, among these options, I guess I'll say Arizona because they're playing Carolina. Yeah. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars might be okay. They're playing the Raiders this week. If Desmond Ridder starts again for the Raiders, then I might say Jacksonville as a solid defensive stream. Not that I don't have much confidence in that, but if Aiden O'Connell has to miss another week and we have to sit through another Desmond Ridder game, then maybe the Jaguars. Yeah, might go the Jags. Yeah. But tough to trust Denver on a short week on the road. Tough to trust the Colts because they're not good. The defense is really bad. And I don't trust the Cardinals, but at least they're playing the Panthers, so might not be a bad spot. Might not be a bad option. I don't love it, but again, if we get another week of Desmond Ridder for the Raiders, then I don't hate the idea of grabbing Jacksonville. They just got cooked by the New York Jets, but the Raiders' offense is a lot worse than the Jets. So, especially, again, if it's Desmond Ridder. That would be my first thought of a streaming defense between, like, Colts, Cardinals, Broncos on a short week on the road. Yep. All right, let's see where I'm at. And let me know if you need anything else, E111. Thanks for popping in. 5 of 9 teams still alive is very good. You should feel good about that. Strange, Hawkinson, or Kincaid in full PPR. Hawkinson last night. I feel like he had a decent day. 5 for 52. Okay. He gets Seattle this week, which is not bad. That's not a bad matchup. I know Kincaid came back this past Sunday and did okay. 4 for 53. He gets the Patriots this week. That is a great matchup. I'll tentatively say Kincaid against New England. That's a really good matchup. And, catching the ball from Josh Allen doesn't hurt. If you want to pick up Strange, that's fine. I don't know who you would drop to make it happen. If it has to be one of these two tight ends, then, I guess Hawkinson. I mean, Kincaid's been up and down as well. All of these, Kincaid and Hawkinson have been up and down, and Strange obviously had 11 catches and as a complete, under the radar, unexpected performance. So who does well among any of these guys is anybody's guess. But I guess I would lean Kincaid because he came back pretty strong this past week after missing a few weeks to injury, and Josh Allen is playing out of his mind right now. So I might as well believe in the pieces that are on the Bills' offense, I guess. I think I would say Kincaid of these three. My confidence on that is like a 4 out of 10, but I would probably say the same thing about most tight end questions. Yes, Kendre Miller is a must-add if you have Kamara. If you have Alvin Kamara, then I would probably prioritize. I would still prioritize Jerome Ford because we know he's going to be the dude for Cleveland, but Kendre Miller would be pretty high up the list as far as priority adds. No worse than second behind Jerome Ford, especially specifically if you have Alvin Kamara. We don't know how severe the groin injury is. We don't know if it means that Kamara is going to miss time, or if he is able to play, is he going to be less than 100%? Or maybe he's totally fine and this is much to do about nothing. We don't know. We don't know that right now, and we won't get more clarity on that until later in the week. So, yeah, until now, or as far as like what you can do now, Jerome Ford remains the top waiver wire ad at running back this week, and that's just because we know he's getting an opportunity. But if you have Kamara, then Kendre Miller is second on that list as far as priority ads. So, yes, if you have Alvin Kamara, Kendre Miller is all the more important for you to get on your squad. 100%. Yep. Yeah, definitely if you can, grab Kendre Miller. if you have Kamara. Let's see. Ladd or Sutton start over Judy, Terry, Ridley. What did Ridley do this past week? I know it was Will Levis. 3 catches, 5 targets, 41 yards. So he should have a better output with Mason Rudolph. But no, I would definitely play. I don't know who yet. I might lean Ladd because he's at home. Or, I mean, if it's full PPR, I don't know the scoring. But Ladd in full PPR, and honestly, maybe a half PPR as well. Honestly, and Sutton, I think. Maybe not Sutton on the road. Short week. Tough matchup. Ladd starts over Ridley for me. Ladd starts over Ridley for me. And we can go over this again on Thursday. I will be live on Thursday ahead of the game, 6 p.m. Eastern. And we can talk through any final thoughts as far as guys that are starting in the Thursday night football game for you. But I would tentatively have Ladd in there over Ridley, but not over Judy or Terry McLaurin. And then I think you got to find a way to continue to play, James Conner, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, if you can. If you could play all 3 of those guys, I probably would. Even though Taylor hasn't looked great recently. He did okay this past week. He would have done even better if he didn't drop the touchdown at the goal line. But it is a tough matchup against the numbers. The Titans have a solid front on defense. So that could pose a challenge. So, yeah, I would start Ladd over Ridley. I don't know about Sutton yet, but I would start Ladd over Ridley. And then here, I mean, what did Tucker Kraft do against Seattle on Sunday night? 2 for 34. Yeah, I mean, this is just the tight end position, man. These are just the nuances of the position. I will say, though, Tucker Kraft has been pretty damn good in home games this year. He's had a couple of clunkers, but they were early in the season. Getting the Saints at home, that feels pretty good. That feels pretty good. I don't trust Ferguson. I'm intrigued by Strange, but I think I would still start Kraft over him for one more week. Noah Gray is also very interesting. He is emerging big time. The problem is Patrick Mahomes healthy? He suffered a high ankle sprain on Sunday. He reportedly practiced today, which is great, but is he going to be operating at less than 100%? So I would tentatively say Kraft. And this one is straightforward. The Packers. The Packers defense at home against the New Orleans Saints, who will probably start Spencer Rattler and may not have Alvin Kamara. If the Packers defense is available, I didn't bring them up as a defensive stream because I assume they are a defense that might already be rostered by a decent amount of folks. Yeah, they're 50% rostered according to Sleeper, so they're not widely available. However, half of leagues they are. If the Green Bay Packers are available, that's probably my number one streaming defense. So E111, if the Packers are available in that where you're between like the Cardinals and the Broncos, they may not be if those are your options. But the Packers at home against the New Orleans Saints, who are going to start Spencer Rattler and maybe will be without Alvin Kamara, in addition to all their other injuries, that's the defense that you want to play this week. That's the defense you want to stream this week, the Green Bay Packers. Yeah. That's the defense. Give me Green Bay. Give me Green Bay's defense for sure. Let's see. I got the member questions. DJ Moore, Brian Thomas, Jonathan Taylor. Probably Taylor. I'm always going to lean on the volume that a starting bell cow running back brings to the table. Taylor should have had a much bigger day on Sunday, but he dropped the ball on the goal line. which is like an 8-point swing, right? Because he should have had the touchdown. Instead, I think does that get called as a lost fumble for him? It did. It did. It counted as a fumble lost. So should have had a way bigger day. Still had a decent day. He came through with volume. I would lean Taylor. I'll take the volume. Taylor's been has been frustrating, and I feel like he maybe I'm not rooting for this, but I feel like he has been kind of on the downturn, like more often than not this year. So, hopefully he's still got a lot left in the tank. He's not old, but I don't know. I just feel like he's not he's not consistently meeting his lofty expectations. And for the beginning of the season, he was, but since then, 3 of his past 5 games, he's been under 10 half PPR points. He's getting decent totals, though. So I would still go Taylor. I'll go Taylor. Obviously, again, just a reminder, all of my start-sit answers are going to be subject to change today, just because we don't have practice reports and injury updates and all that good stuff just yet. We need to get through a couple days of those updates before we can start feeling definitive about any decisions that we make. But in this scenario, I'll take Taylor. Give me the running back. Give me the bell cow running back who should handle 20 opportunities. Let's see. Kupp, Wilson, or Ladd. I mean, I don't think Cooper Kupp is going to get goose-egged again. Also, congrats if you were able to advance in spite of having somebody like Cooper Kupp in your starting lineup, because that did not work out. In standard scoring, right now I have to say Wilson and Ladd, just because Kupp has left such a sour taste in my mouth after a goose egg this past week. Again, that's not going to happen a second straight week. Kupp will get his production, and it's a beatable matchup against the Jets. Although it is a road game, I think it's an early game for the Rams as well. I think it's one of those West Coast teams going east for an early game type of situation. So that's a little frustrating for Kupp. I would probably say Wilson and Ladd. I'll say Wilson and Ladd. Wilson, great matchup against the Rams. And Ladd, I know it's standard scoring, but he seems easy to trust right now. He produces when he's out there on the field. He produces. He has been good. Yeah, so Wilson and Ladd. And I'm playing the Vikings. If I have the Vikings defense, I'm playing them. Week 17 against Green Bay is a question mark, but we're not there yet. We're 1 week at a time. I'm not worried about the Seattle Seahawks, especially with Geno picking up an injury. So, are they going to have to start Sam Howell at quarterback? I mean, I want the Vikings in that matchup. The Vikings, they have a good defense. They've been a good fantasy defense. They're a good NFL defense. The Colts is not a good defense, and the Bengals are not a good defense. They do not have a good squad. They have a good matchup against the Browns, but they don't have a good defense. The Vikings have a good matchup, and they have a good defense. Give me Minnesota. I am rocking with them for Week 16. They likely were the defense that helped get you here. Let's keep riding that wave. We'll deal with Week 17 against Green Bay when we have to. For now, against Seattle with Geno Smith less than 100%, yeah, I want the Vikings. No other thoughts there. I'm not picking up another defense. At least not using like a waiver claim on another defense. If you want to tentatively look at matchups for next week and grab somebody for next week, okay, fine. But I'm playing the Vikings this week, and that's that for me. I want the Packers if I'm streaming. I want the Vikings if I've had the Vikings for season long because they're one of the most highly rostered defenses, and for good reason. They've been really good this year. So Brian Thomas against Vegas, Garrett Wilson against the Rams. They're both great matchups. Thomas has that number one target share to himself. Wilson could be the wide receiver one any given week for the Jets, but there are other weeks, like this past week, where he gives that title up to Devontae Adams. There's no question that Brian Thomas is his team's wide receiver one. That's probably where I would go. His last 3 games, he had 14 targets last week, which I believe is a season high and therefore a career high. 14 targets last week, 12 targets week 14, 10 targets week 13. It's 36 targets in 3 weeks. Wilson's not bad. He has 26 targets these past 3 weeks. But Brian Thomas has 10 more targets than Garrett Wilson over the past 3 contests. I'll take Brian Thomas. Yeah, I'll take Brian Thomas. Let's see. I got these member questions, but always, if the members need anything else, let me know and I will get to them. Lamar or Baker. I mean, it's an interesting. The 6-point passing touchdown makes it intriguing, but I mean, I like Baker. There's one option here. I know it's the Steelers. And, it's a AFC division game, and it'll be a slugfest, and it's difficult to trust that there's going to be points scored in this game. I don't think I can sit Lamar. I don't think I can sit Lamar Jackson. And I believe it's a home game for him, right? Which helps. Yeah, it's a home game against Pittsburgh, who he didn't have a great game against in week 11. 207 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Ran the ball 4 times for 46 yards. So he had a decent floor play. You would think he should be able to do a little bit better than that at home. I'll take Lamar. Yeah, gotta go with Lamar Jackson. He's been unbelievable, even in a tough matchup. I mean, Jalen Hurts had almost a 30-burger this past week against these Steelers, and it's a second straight road game for the Ravens. I mean, yeah, I gotta play Lamar. I gotta play Lamar Jackson. Yep. Congrats to everybody who made it to the semifinals. Kendra Abdullah or Tracy. Is this to start or to pick up? I would put Kendra first if you have Kamara to pick up, then Tracy, then Abdullah. I don't. With Sincere McCormick going down, Alexander Madison and Amir Abdullah figure to get all the opportunities out of the Raiders' backfield. The problem is the Raiders' offense is really bad. It might be Desmond Ridder again. I don't want to mess around with anybody in that offense. Even guys like Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, they feel difficult to trust. But you're not moving off of those guys, especially Bowers. I would say Kendra first because you have Kamara. Tracy is second. Although if you could use a starter, Tracy is closer to the starting lineup, I would say, than Kendre Miller, at least until we know the availability of Kamara. and then Abdullah would be third. Kelsey versus Laporta. The Lions have the Bears. There's nothing scary about that. The Chiefs have the Texans. Kelsey got 8 targets against Cleveland. They play host to Houston this week. Laporta had a great game against the Bills. 10 targets, 7 catches, 111 yards. Now, obviously, game script had a big role to play there. But still, Laporta delivered in a big way. 7 for 111. Huge performance. A home game for Travis Kelce is probably where I would go. Laporta goes outside on the road to Chicago. While I think he's viable, and it's wild that you actually have both of these guys available to you to pick, but I would probably go Kelce at home against Houston. I feel a little bit safer about that than Laporta on the road. I'll say Kelce. I would probably rather play Kincaid right now over Otten. Otten's productivity has dried up the past couple of weeks. When Mike Evans returned to the lineup, Cade Otten's usage dried up with it. I'll take Kincaid. If Njoku's on waivers, yeah, I'm definitely interested. But obviously, he's going to be catching the ball from this point forward from Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and I don't know how much I trust any Browns pass catcher. Like Jerry Jeudy is now kind of difficult to trust, right? A lot of his value was tied to not just the trade of Amari Cooper opening up opportunities, but Jameis Winston being fearless, chucking the football down the field. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, in the limited sample size that we saw last year, is a check down god. So I guess that could be good for Njoku, but also he didn't look great when he was given his opportunity. 7th round rookie, so that's not to be totally unexpected. Maybe he performs a little bit better now that he's got some NFL experience and is in his 2nd season. But it's hard to trust the Browns pass catchers right now. So I'll say Kincaid. And at this point, I'd probably rather have guys like Brenton Strange or Chigakonkwo over Cade Otton. So if you don't get Njoku, you can pick up either one of those guys too for Otton. You could pick up Strange or you could pick up Chigakonkwo. Yeah. Proceed with caution with the Browns pass catchers from this point forward. So I think I had a question earlier, actually, like, does Ladd or Sutton start over Jeudy? Yeah, maybe both of them. We will have to come back to that one, though, like later in the week. But maybe both of those guys start over Jeudy and somebody like a Calvin Ridley. Yeah, the Browns pass catchers are difficult to trust with DTR officially the starter. We'll see what he can do. But limited sample size last year showed a very low average depth of target. DTR doesn't push the ball downfield, not like Jameis, at least from what we've seen. So, yeah, Kincaid of this group, and if you want to drop Cade Otton, and if you miss on Njoku, Brenton Strange, Chigakonkwo, also viable pickups. Cade Otton can be dropped. Would I rather pick up DTR, Wentz, or Rattler? Oh man. I guess DTR. Wentz, I don't know if he's gonna play. I guess you could pick up Wentz if you have Mahomes, and then that way you know that you're gonna have the Chiefs starter regardless. Rattler on the road against Green Bay. I don't trust that at all. I just don't trust that at all. I know he looked like somewhat competent in relief of Jay Kanier against Washington this past week. I don't know how he does on the road in an environment like Green Bay outside of the Superdome. Not sure about that. DTR at least gets the Bengals, and while it is a road game, the Bengals defense is not that scary, not that intimidating. So I would think DTR can can maybe come in and get you somewhere around 12 points. Yeah. I would pick up DTR unless you have Mahomes, and then I will pick up Wentz just because no matter what, I'm going to have the Chiefs starting quarterback. So again, Packers or Vikings defense. The Packers are my favorite defensive stream. The Vikings are one of the top 3 or 5 defenses, not just in fantasy, but probably their run defenses anyway. Their pass defense is a little bit of a struggle, but the Vikings have a really, really good defense. They are top 3 for fantasy purposes. You could probably call them top 5 or 6 in the NFL. The Vikings. Their floor is higher. They've been really good all year. They get Seattle potentially starting Sam Howell. Geno Smith is dealing with a knee injury. So both defenses are facing backup quarterbacks. Yes, the Vikings are on the road, but I don't mind if they're playing Sam Howell. And they've been better this year. They've been the more consistent. They've been the better defense. The Vikings. The Vikings are my answer. The Packers at home against Spencer Rattler should be good. So if you want to stream the Packers, that's fine. But the Vikings have proven to this point that they are a really good defense, rock solid, and they consistently produce. I wouldn't want to go away from that at this point if I have them. Yeah. Andrews or Hawkinson? I know he had a bad game against Pittsburgh the last time the Steelers and Ravens played, but I think my answer is Andrews. He has been really good recently. 6 for 67 and a touchdown. That was week 13. He only caught 2 balls Sunday against the Giants, but they went for 24 yards and a score. Ravens didn't need to throw the ball all that much. They had that game handled by the time they showed up to the stadium in the morning. Week 13 against the Eagles, 6 for 67 and a touchdown. Week 12 against the Chargers, 5 for 44 and a touchdown. He didn't do well week 11 against Pittsburgh on the road, 2 catches, 22 yards. Tough interdivision road game. But week 10 against Cincinnati, 6 for 68 and a touchdown. He's got scores in 4 of his past 5 and 6 of his past 8. Mark Andrews does. He's on a strong tear. The Ravens are, yes, it's a tough matchup against the Steelers, but they're at home, and Lamar is playing once again like an MVP. I'll take Andrews. I think his ceiling and his floor is higher than TJ Hawkinson's. I'll take Andrews. Is this a pick 1? And I don't know what the scoring is. Pickens is still not practicing, so I wouldn't be holding my breath on him. I mean, I want to play Bucky against the Cowboys if I can, assuming he's healthy. And he didn't seem to have a whole heck of a lot of limitations that he was dealing with after being on the injury report. Like 15 carries, 117 yards for Bucky Irving in a game where we were not sure if he was going to even play or not. Probably Bucky. Stevenson gets who do they get? The Bills this coming week. It's a beatable matchup. Beatable matchup, but I think I trust Bucky a little bit more at this point. So I'll say Bucky. Wilson, really good, but Devontae Adams could be wide receiver 1 any given week. JSN, really good, but might be catching the football from Sam Howell this week instead of Geno Smith, so I don't like that as much. And Pickens is not practicing today, not off to the best start of the week with a game on Saturday against the Texans. That's right, actually. So there are 2 Saturday games this week. I'm going to have to adjust my start-sit schedule, my live stream schedule. I just realized that. I'm going to have to adjust that because there's games that are going to be on when I'm usually live, and you guys are going to want to watch the games, just like all of us. Okay. I'll have to sort out a special start-sit stream time before the Saturday games. I could either do that Friday evening or Saturday morning. Maybe I'll put a poll up somewhere and see what folks prefer. Just realizing that. So my inclination here is Bucky. And then the Lions are playing the Bears, and they're completely decimated by injuries at this point. The Falcons are playing... Who are the Falcons playing this week? They get, the Giants. Yeah, I would stream the Falcons. I'll stream the Falcons against the Giants. That's a great... They're not good. The Falcons' defense isn't good, but the Giants are so bad that, yeah, it's worth it to... It's worth it to stream defenses against the Giants. That's how atrocious they are on offense. Yeah, I'll take the Falcons. You're going to the Penn State game, Crumply Heads? Hell yeah, that should be a crazy good atmosphere. Penn State finally gets a college football playoff experience. No, it should be fun. That should be a good matchup. Should be a good game. That's pretty cool. But yes, that game is taking place. There's a ton of stuff going on this weekend between NFL games on Saturday. The college football playoff kicks off on Friday night. And then it starts again at noon on Saturday with the Penn State game. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you already know. Just drop your lineups into Discord and I can take a look. Okay. So I will have to I'm going to have to rearrange the schedule a little bit, the stream schedule a little bit this week because I normally stream on Saturdays at 5. But the Steelers and the Ravens are playing at that time. So okay. I'm going to either have to do Friday night or Saturday morning for a stream. I'll sort that out. Yeah. Maybe I'll put a poll up. Like what works for everybody as far what works for the majority as far as start sit live stream, like Friday night or Saturday morning, given that there are Saturday NFL games this week. So we'll figure that out. That's a good little piece of information to know. Could do Friday night. Sit one between Jacoby Myers, Jerome Ford, and JMO. I would play Jerome Ford just from a volume perspective. Nick Chubb is gone for the year, and he's got a great matchup against Cincinnati. And they may run the ball a lot with DTR in there. The Browns. They may run the ball a lot with DTR in there as their starter. So Jerome Ford for sure. And then, JMO going outside in the cold weather, the Lions and it makes me a little nervous, but I trust Jared Goff right now way more than I trust Aiden O'Connell or Desmond Ridder. I guess if it's Aiden O'Connell, If Aiden O'Connell plays, I would say play Jacoby Myers, because that's how good Myers has been. But if it's Desmond Ridder, then I would play JMO. He did catch a touchdown, JMO did this past week. Yeah, when do those games play? They're both on Sunday, right? These games. Just taking a look. Yeah. Vegas plays at 4:25 East. The Lions play at 1 o'clock. So if we have more information about the availability of Aiden O'Connell before kickoff, that would be super helpful. My tentative answer is if it's Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders, then I'll play Myers. But if Aiden O'Connell has to sit again and it's Desmond Ridder, I don't trust Desmond Ridder. Not at all. I would play JMO if Desmond Ridder is the starter for the Raiders. Hell, if Desmond Ridder is the starter for the Raiders, I might tell people to find an alternate to Brock Bowers. That's how bad Desmond Ridder is. Not good. He is respectfully not good. I would play JMO if Ridder is the starter for the Raiders. But if Aiden O'Connell's able to make it back, I would play Myers. Yeah, that's where I would go. That's where I would go. All right. I think I'm at the end of the chat. I think I got everybody's questions. If I missed anything or if anybody needs anything else, let me know in these next couple of minutes and I can follow up with any other answers. Again, real quick as a rapid fire for waivers for this week. Jerome Ford makes a lot of sense as a pickup. Nick Chubb broke his foot, unfortunately, and is done for the season. So Jerome Ford will continue to get a lot of volume the rest of the way, although I don't know how good that Browns offense is going to be with Dorian Thompson-Robinson at the controls. Kendre Miller, Tajay Spears, also viable pickups at running back this week. Especially with Kendre Miller, if you have Alvin Kamara dealing with a groin injury, status up in the air on a New Orleans Saints team that's going nowhere this year. So Miller viable, Tajay Spears viable, Jerome Ford the top pickup at running back. Jalen McMillan, Romeo Doubs. Doubs would be number one for me if he's still available, but if he's not, then Jalen McMillan would be my top ad at wide receiver. If you could use some depth at wide receiver, McMillan is looking like he's starting to take advantage of his expanded role in the Bucs offense and attached to Baker Mayfield. You can feel good about him as far as streaming goes. And then this is probably the most plentiful options at tight end on the waiver wire that we've had all season. Go figure. If you've got, if you lost Evan Ingram, if you have Kyle Pitts, who you can't trust with any type of confidence, if you have Jake Ferguson or Cade Otton, whose time has run out on them, it would appear. Brenton Strange, Chigakonkwo, Stone Smart, in that order for me based on matchups this week. Smart against Denver is the one that I like the least. Plus, it's a short week, so I don't like that as much. But Strange against the Raiders, Chig going up against the Indianapolis Colts, both viable tight end streams if you're looking for a random tight end to play this week. If DTR is available in Dynasty, yeah, you can pick him up. I mean, I wouldn't play him over Justin Herbert. If that helps figure out how much fob you want to, if that helps out, figure out how much fob you want to plunge into DTR. I mean, you're not starting him this week, but if you want that extra option, he's going to be the guy this week and next. So it's at least it's a warm body. It is a live body as a QB3. Hopefully he's a QB4. So, at this point of the season, assuming your FOB resets at the end of the year, half of it, whatever's left, because he's a starting quarterback in Superflex. That has value, maybe half of whatever you have left at FOB. Something like that. We're not playing him, but we can put him on our roster. That's fine. Would I start Ford over Najee, Tracy, or ETN? Maybe Najee, because Najee gets the Ravens on the road, and I do not like that spot for him. I do not like that matchup. I think he did okay against the Ravens in their first matchup, but that was a home game. 18 carries, 63 yards, 4 catches for 30 yards. So he got a lot of opportunities the last time these two teams played, Najee did, but now it's a road game, and the Ravens have a good run defense. I might start Ford over Najee. I would want to come back to this one, E111. I want to, take some time to dissect this one, but I may play Ford over Najee. I might. Tracy gets the Falcons. That's not bad. And ETN has been showing well recently. He gets the Raiders. That's a great matchup. So I do want to play ETN. And I think I want to play Tracy. He didn't have a good week this past week, but again, that was Baltimore. That was as lopsided as it gets. Falcons defense not as intimidating or scary as the Ravens. Of course, the Giants offense is the scariest of all. But Tracy should be fine as a floor play in that matchup. Ford over Najee, I could see that. I could see that. Najee going on the road against Baltimore, I kind of don't like that at all. That feels gross. That feels gross. So yeah, maybe Ford over Najee. No Nick Chubb, so he's going to get the ball. He's going to get opportunities. Yeah. We'll talk more start sit this week, of course. Normal Thursday show, 6 p.m. Eastern, ahead of Chargers Broncos, so we can talk shop on any start sit questions you may have ahead of that game. We'll have 2 days worth of practice reports to comb through and sort out where we're sitting, where we stand. And then I'm tentatively thinking of a Friday night stream for start sit help instead of Saturday, because there's NFL football on Saturday this week. The Steelers Ravens will be going on when I normally stream. So I'm tentatively thinking a Friday night stream. Maybe I can pop on for a bit Saturday morning. I don't know if I'll double dip, but I could try depending on folks' availability. But we're probably going to want to tweak the schedule around this week with NFL football happening on Saturday, and it's the playoffs. So I assume you guys want to watch that. So we'll maybe keep that spot open. And we'll stream a little sooner. We'll stream a little earlier. So thinking Friday night instead of Saturday at 5. I will message that in a community post on the channel, and I will also drop some details in my Discord as well. If you are not in Discord but are on Discord, you can join my Discord. It's an evergreen free invite. Second link in the description of this live stream and all of the videos and streams on the channel. You could pop in there. Of course, activity in the Discord might start winding down a little bit, obviously, with the redraft season wrapping up. But there will be Dynasty content. There will be Dynasty chatter and conversation if you play Dynasty. I certainly do. There are plenty of folks that follow along on the channel that play Dynasty as well. So there will be Dynasty content coming after the season. And again, one final time, this will be the last week of your typical cadence of live streams from me this year. I will be traveling for the Christmas holiday, so my availability will be limited. I will post community posts and give opportunities to folks to ask me questions, and I'll answer them as I can, when I can. But this will be the final week of your typical schedule of live streams from Facemask Fantasy this year. But of course, we'll be ramping up in 2025 for Dynasty. So one more time, congrats to everybody who's made it this far. And I'll be here throughout the week, but just, thank you guys for the support and hanging out this season. Hopefully it's been fun. Hopefully it's been helpful. And of course, we'll be coming back strong and hopefully pumping out league winning producing content next year, in addition to hopefully this year. So we'll be back on Thursday. We're probably looking at Friday at this point instead of Saturday this week. And then I'll probably run a Sunday morning stream as well for one final hurrah as far as live streams go for the 2024 season. But if nobody needs anything else, I think that will do it for me tonight. Congrats again to everybody who won their Week 15 matchup and has advanced to the semifinals in their league. We'll hopefully sort your lineup out moving forward later on this week, and hopefully get you some dubs and get you to championship week. And I do encourage anybody who had a start-sit question tonight to come back later in the week. If there are any days of the week where start-sit questions or answers to start-sit questions are subject to change, it's Tuesday. We just don't have all information available to us as far as practice reports and injury updates go. So that will always change the answers to start-sit questions if, in fact, things, we get updates that are either unexpected or not originally planned for, because you never know. Okay. Appreciate you guys. Everybody have a great rest of your night. Again, go grab Jerome Ford, whether you need a running back or not. You might as well get him. He is a starting running back for the rest of the year, and those things have value. So Jerome Ford, rock solid option. Kendre Miller, if you have Alvin Kamara, shore up those backfields, shore up those benches for these final couple of weeks of fantasy football. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night, and I will see you guys on Thursday.